Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be reviewing the F-16A, a currently 11.7 BR, Tier 8 jet fighter that sits in numerous tech trees, including the US, Israeli, Chinese, and Italian tech trees. This review will cover all F-16A variants currently in War Thunder as of the release of Apex Predators. While there are some differences between these aircraft, such as the inclusion of the AIM-7Ms with the MLU and ADF, they all essentially fly the same and for most players are going to be indistinguishable, especially being that they are heavily geared towards AIM-9L usage, as opposed to any mid-range options, though of course those are usable with some variants. With that said, I'll be going over everything that you need to know about the F-16A, including its stats, how it plays, its strengths and weaknesses. I'll give it some scores in several key areas, and then I'll give my final recommendation on if I feel that this vehicle is worth grinding for or not. As always, please consider subscribing as it helps my channel tremendously, and even more so if you like this type of content. But either way, let's get into it. Now to start, I'll place its stats here on the side of the screen. Important stats to note are, well, everything. The F-16A has amazing performance and will get better as up-engine variants are added to War Thunder over time. Now with that said, for how it plays. The F-16A, as you might be able to imagine, is a hell of a plane. It climbs incredibly well, is incredibly fast, has excellent maneuverability, and, of course, looks damn good. In short, it ticks all the boxes, with the exception of the MLU and ADF, of which have options for up to 2 AIM-7M mid-range missiles. The F-16A is entirely geared towards fast-paced, close-range dogfighting, a category in which it excels. Between its excellent flight performance, its loadout of 6 all-aspect AIM-9Ls, and capable 20mm rotary cannon, the F-16A can easily annihilate numerous planes within a short period of time. As of the writing of this video, the Fighting Falcon is likely the best dogfighter in War Thunder, with only the MiG-29 challenging its throne, and of course it plays in a slightly different way. Oddly enough, the F-16A is so incredibly fast that, at least for right now, it is viable as a boom and zoom fighter. Sounds crazy, right? Well, it can easily fly up to 8,000 plus meters, and for the most part, enemies with BVR missiles aren't really looking up there. So it gives you the freedom to swoop down and destroy numerous enemy players that are not expecting an attack from above. This more so works when there are clouds. I've done this numerous times and with great success. Alternatively, and probably a much safer strategy, is to still hug the ground, making it so that enemy radars won't pick you up so easily. Once you get close enough to the enemy team, you can start unloading missiles and even fire your cannon. With few exceptions, the F-16 is more maneuverable than most similar BR fighters, making it deadly in close quarters combat. If using an AIM-7F equipped F-16, be sure to use those prior to the intense dogfighting, as they will benefit from having some range between yourself and the enemy, as well as being able to benefit from the immensely powerful radar on the F-16A. Regardless, as stated before, the F-16A has phenomenal performance all around, and as such, can outturn and outmissile essentially any enemy at this point in time, and will still be powerful even as newer, more advanced fighters join the fray. Now for close air support, the F-16A is still extremely potent, sans the ADF model, as those have no ground ordnance options. Universal between all F-16As, again sans the ADF, are up to 6 AGM-65Bs, which are about as good as you can get for close air support. Beyond this, they can all carry a mix of 500 and 2,000 pound dumb bombs, with the American F-16A being able to carry TV-guided 2,000 pound bombs and over 100 Mighty Mouse rockets. Additionally, all ground attack capable F-16s have ballistic computers for both bombs and rockets, making this into a hell of a CAS plane, even though it isn't specifically designed to do so. As such, the F-16A is a harbinger into what will become the modern multi-role fighter, again joining War Thunder. Now with this said, let's get into its strengths and weaknesses, and first for its strengths. It has excellent performance overall. It can essentially outclimb, outturn, and outrun any plane that it will face, sans the MiG-29 in some situations, and as of the writing of this video. For its second strength, it can carry up to 6 AIM-9L all-aspect missiles, of which are easily among the best close-range missiles in War Thunder, and will likely be so for quite some time. Additionally, on the MLU and ADF versions, the F-16A can carry AIM-7Ms, which are very good at mid-range combat, and can potentially carry AMRAAMs in the future. For its third strength, despite combat moving towards missiles, the 20mm rotary cannon on the F-16A is phenomenal, and will get you more kills versus air and ground than you might expect, especially especially against juicy free RP targets like NPC aircraft and tanks. For its fourth strength, all variants except for the ADF currently have access to up to 6 AGM-65B Mavericks, of which are TV guided and devastating to any vehicle that they hit. Aside from these, the F-16A can also carry up to 19 500-pound bombs and up to 4 TV guided 2,000-pound bombs and over 100 Mighty Mouse rockets, all of which will benefit from the F-16's bomb and rocket ballistics computers. Bear in mind though that the F-16A for the Americans only has the TV guided bombs for now, though all of them have access again to the Mavericks, which is what I'm sure most people want anyways. Beyond this, the F-16A benefits from being able to use a drop tank, which automatically falls from your vehicle once its fuel is expended, immediately switching over to the internal fuel supply. And finally, it has both a very good radar and of course an excellent roll rate. Now for its weaknesses, unless you're using the MLU, you won't have any longer range options other than the Sidewinders. Even still, the MLU and ADF can still carry 2 AIM-7Ms, and unfortunately they're not the best mid-range missiles by any means, even though they are quite good, especially when paired with the excellent radar on the F-16A. Now for its second weakness, while 60 countermeasures is somewhat decent and you get a little bit more with the MLU, it isn't always going to be enough, especially with all the missiles at and around this BR. Third, it starts off with AIM-9Js or AIM-9Ps, both of which will be largely insufficient at this BR. And finally, it eats fuel at an incredible rate when using its afterburner. It makes the MiG-21 look fuel efficient. Now with that said, for how I rate the F-16A, for dogfighting and air RB, I give it an 8.75 out of 10. The F-16A is, upon release, the king of dogfighting, at least insofar as hybrid missile/gun dogfighting is concerned. Between its fantastic AIM-9Ls and outstanding performance in every regard, the F-16A can truly perform and outplay any other plane, at least again as of its release. I suspect its capabilities will decrease as more advanced planes and variants of the F-16 are introduced. In the meantime, however, it has everything that you could ever want to perform well in air RB. The MLU and ADF receive a 9 out of 10 in this category for having access to AIM-7Ms, which, while not my cup of tea, do help to make the F-16 more versatile. On the somewhat downside, however, the F-16A, at least most variants, only have 60 countermeasures, with the MLU again having slightly more, which won't always be enough, and it burns through fuel incredibly quickly. Other than that, however, the F-16A still receives possibly the highest score that I've ever given a plane in this category. It is that good, at least for now. Now for close air support, I give it a 7.5 out of 10. While the F-16A doesn't have all the fancy doodads of dedicated close air support planes, such as targeting pods and more varied ordnance, the F-16A essentially still has access to what many people would consider to be currently the best CAS missiles in game, AGM-65B Mavericks. These are fire and forget and will typically one-shot enemy tanks and light vehicles. Thankfully, all F-16A variants have this, again outside of the ADF. Unfortunately, however, the American F-16A has the most variety in terms of ordnance for close air support. But this isn't all too big of a deal because the other two variants, the NETs and the F-16A MLU, at least insofar as CAS-capable F-16s are concerned, both still receive AGM-65Bs. Because of this, I give the F-16A for the Americans a 7.75 out of 10 for CAS, and the NETs and MLU a 7 or 7.25 out of 10, being that they still both maintain the most important and capable ordnance that the F-16 for the Americans has. Because of this, I feel that they average out around give or take 7.5 out of 10 when including CAS-capable F-16As. And one more thing that actually slightly weighed in on my CAS score is the fact that once you're done fighting enemy ground vehicles, the F-16A can easily turn over to be an air cover vehicle and destroy helicopters and other aircraft attacking your team. It is phenomenal, especially in that regard. Now overall, I give the F-16A an 8.25 out of 10. The F-16A has earned the highest mark for an aircraft that I have ever given thus far, at least if my memory serves. This plane can do it all and can do it better than most other aircraft that specialize in a given type of combat. The F-16A is the Led Zeppelin of jet fighters thus far in War Thunder. Even its so-called weaknesses, such as not having a ton of countermeasures, is still going to be not all that bad. While it will lose some of its potency over time with the introduction of new and more advanced fighters, the F-16A is, at least as of the release and for the short-term future, the best dogfighter in War Thunder, as well as an excellent close air support plane. The MiG-29 is the only competitor that combat is pretty much as good as the F-16A is insofar as dogfighting is concerned, but it lacks the CAS chops of the Fighting Falcon, and also does not currently have the R-73 missiles that made it so deadly in the dev server for Apex Predators. Now with that said, should you grind for the F-16A regardless of the variant? Yes, yes, and yes. This plane is outstanding, and though it is geared heavily towards people that like close-range air combat, it will be smooth as butter for anyone that handles its controls. Of course, you could make the argument that the MLU is better for air RP, while the American F-16A is better for CAS, with the nets and other variants being stuck somewhere in between, but the truth is that regardless of the ordnance options that each subvariant of the F-16 has, they are all phenomenal at what they do, and thus I can easily recommend each variant. The F-16 Fighting Falcon is a rare instance in War Thunder where a vehicle is released, and I really can't point out too many things that are wrong with it. Of course, it consumes fuel faster than a V8 Cadillac from the 1960s, but it also has a drop tank, which helps in a major way to remedy that issue. Not much more can be said, at least for now. This plane is the king of the castle. While I suspect again that it will lose some of its potency as time goes on, I do not foresee the F-16A, regardless of the subvariant, becoming a sitting duck. The Fighting Falcon is here to stay. Now with that said, thank you all so much for watching. Please of course comment on this video, let me know what you think about the Fighting Falcon and of this video. I want to hear your opinions, and of course if you would like, please consider subscribing as that would help me tremendously. But either way, thanks again, and I will see you all on the other side. Take care everyone.